Sunnah followers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnah followers, protectors of the Sunnah.
Alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam Allah, wa rasulullah. Welcome to another session of Sunnah Followers Hadith class. And this is the class wherein we discuss issues, hadiths, in which hadiths about issues that relate to women. And let's put the hadith up on the screen for tonight. And the source of this hadith is Sahih Bukhari, and it's narrated by Aisha, one of the wives of the Prophet. She said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and I used to take a bath from a single pot of water, and our hands used to go into the pot after each other had their turn. Now, back in those days, those who could afford it would have a tub. Like what we have today, they would fill it with water and bathe in it. And they also would have pots that they would use. And they would take a bath standing up, washing themselves and standing up. And so in this hadith, this is not the same hadith that Aisha speaks about, again, where she talks about how her and the Prophet would take a bath together. And he would sometimes play by taking the water away from her. That's the bathtub. In this case, they used a big pot, and they would use it to stand up and bathe in. So here in this hadith, she shows that she and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam shared the same pot, the same water in the same pot to bathe with. He would take his bath, he would wash his arms first, and then she'd go behind him and wash hers, and he'd get some more water and do his legs, and she'd get some. So this hadith shows that a woman, a husband, and a wife can share the same bathing pot together. Just like we can take baths together, we can also use the same water in a pot to bathe ourselves with too. Does everybody understand that? Because there are some Muslim men out there to this day, even though this is the year 2021, there's a lot of men who think that if you touch a woman breaks your wudu. There's a lot of men that believe that a woman is impure. There's a lot of men to this day that believe that if a woman were to walk across in front of you while you're praying, your prayer is broken. None of this stuff is true. Women are human beings just like men are. And this hadith is more proof of it. If we can use the same water to make wudu with, we can use the same water to bathe with. And I am not invalidating you or in making you impure. Does everybody understand that? What do you guys think of this hadith?
Alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. That's beautiful for the people that thinks that a woman invalidates their prayer and that we so dirty that we just some somethings that ain't human. And it just shows right there that we can use the same water to wash ourselves with. And just like how Aisha has said before, when somebody gonna act like we a dog, talking about we break the prayer thing. She said she used to be a sutra for the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. So that just clears up for the people for the men that's so confused.
Yeah, and like I say, issues about women, there's always, throughout the beginning of time, ever since Allah made Eve, there's always been misconceptions about women and what women are. And it's always, men have always tried to make women to be less status than they were and all of that. Like I said, even to this day, we're still fighting against these same misconceptions. And this is one of the things that Aisha is so great for, throwing all these misconceptions about women out the window. She spent her life after the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam died, teaching Islam and its truthfulness and trying to preserve and protect the rights of women that Allah has given us. And to this day, we still have to go back and correct men with this. Good job on that. I mean, anyone else? Anyone else would like to share?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Go ahead.
Speaking of misconceptions, there's a lot of misconceptions about women and men, and this kind of clears it. Because it makes it let you know that a husband and a wife can be together and without being considered as unclean or someone that we have to stay away from for no reason, and it shows a good example for new married couples or those thinking about marriage, that they don't have to, before they get married, they can see, oh, okay, well, this is all right then, huh? They need to learn things before they get married, so they won't be tripping with each other. And because I've heard some really gross things come out of a person's mouth that's not even true, but it's just a misconception. Exactly. That a woman is unclean, especially about women. She's unclean, and she's not, but.
Well, just like I shared with you guys this morning when I had came on the website, a sister joined and asked a question about, is it true? Because in her culture, she said in her culture, they say that if a man dies, a woman cannot leave her house at all, nor can she take a bath during that 4-month, 10-day waiting period. She cannot leave the house. She cannot take a bath. She cannot cut her nails. Can you imagine how filthy and dirty and stinky a woman would be if she went 4 months and 10 days without bathing? Yeah. Especially if she's a woman who has a menses too. But this is culture. She said in her culture, they tell the women, you cannot take a bath, you cannot wash your hair, you cannot do anything for 4 months and 10 days. This is not Islam. And I had to explain to her that is not Islam. And as Muslims, we have to understand Islam is our culture. Allah is all about cleanliness. Cleanliness is what brings us closer to him. A woman's prayers are not even accepted after her menses unless she takes a complete ghusl, which includes washing her hair. So how can you tell a woman that because her husband died, she can't bathe for 4 months and 10 days? This is ignorance in the worst degree. So again, like I said, even though we're living in the year 2021, people still want to demean women and put women on the status of a dog, to be filthy, to be nasty, to be impure like a dog. We can't bathe for 4 months and 10 days because your husband died. That totally contradicts Allah's teachings. Okay, but then on the other hand, you say that if you touch a woman and she's on her period, you become impure, but you're telling her that regardless of what Allah says, she can't bathe for 4 months and 10 days? Ignorance. That's why it's so important for Muslim women to learn the deen and to learn the deen correctly. Because if you didn't learn the deen, you'd be a nasty, miserable, unhappy creature. Okay, would anyone else like to share their thoughts on this hadith or their feelings on this hadith? Okay, let's put it up on the screen again.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Precious. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I was gonna say, I think this is a beautiful hadith, and it's good for married couples to, like, you know, to keep the romance going. You know, you guys could shower together and things like that. I was just thinking about that. Like, it's just,
Alhamdulillah.
it's
Precious,
beautiful.
Precious
Like,
brought out a very good point. Exactly. This shows also how loving
Yeah.
the marriage and relationship between the Prophet and Aisha was. People want to make out that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam raped a little girl and all that. Does this sound like the relationship of a person that didn't want to be married? Her and the Prophet enjoyed, bathing together. They enjoyed hugging and kissing and romancing each other. And there's many hadiths that speak about their relationship. You can see that she truly loved him and he truly adored her and loved her. So that's another good point that Precious brought out. This hadith also dispels those myths out there that the Prophet raped Aisha or she was married against her will and all this nonsense. Romance. This is something that we need to bring back into our marriages.
Yes, it's beautiful and it's healthy. So
exactly. So again, look at the hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to bathe himself from a single pot of water, and his wife Aisha would share the same water. In fact, their hands used to go in the pot after each other. So it shows that women are not less than men, that romance is lawful in Islam, that happiness is good. It's not bad. It's not evil. And cleanliness, subhanAllah, cleanliness is strongly emphasized in this way of life. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for joining and participating. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.